Guys, as you can see, I have a new format because I got my iPad, and I'm gonna be filming on this from now on. Just a heads up. So, now let's continue into our second foray of Twisted Wonderland, and unfortunately, my promise from last time doesn't stand, because I kind of want to discuss how Kaleem and Jamil are very gay for each other, because I just need to justify it to everybody who says their relationship is toxic, because, I mean, it kind of is, but it's kind of not. That's for another time, sorry, getting distracted. But now, we're here to discuss Crowley's susness, and who's in on it, who knows, who's a reincarnation and who's not, and most importantly, why and how do overblots work, and how do they help Crowley's plan. So, first off, let's clear up the confusion from the last video about who's a reincarnation and who's not. Well, all of them are reincarnations, kind of. I mean, some of them just happen to be kind of sort of related to the villain who they're reincarnating as. Let me explain. So, in Jamil's, Idia's, Vil's, and Azul's cases, I do think they're purely reincarnations and not related to the villains in any way, because I don't think Grimhild got married again. I don't think anyone would get with Ursula, and well, yes, there is that weird scene of Jafar kissing Jasmine, which was very weird. I don't think that the time frame matches up for them to have a child and for that child to have a child and so on. Also, Hades in the Hercules movie seems to be unmarried, and they don't really explore mortal god relationships there, so I don't think Idia is a descendant of Hades in any way. As for Malleus, Riddle, and Leona, I think that in Malleus's case, he is a naturally born descendant. I mean, he does have Maleficent's blood in him, kind of. It's kind of, she made a successor. It's not her soul in a person that's their own person with their own parents, like in, Idia's case. It's, she made him, She's his mother, kind of, sort of. He was magically birthed, if that makes sense. As for Riddle, I do think he is distantly related to the Queen of Hearts, but he's in an unimportant branch of the family, which isn't royalty. And, her soul's inside him. So, yeah. As for Leona, I think the same situation with Riddle, but it's more of a circle of life kind of thing, where the same personality repeats and his soul is in Leona sort of situation. So, now that I've cleared that up, let's discuss the teachers, because that might be the confusing bit. I don't think Vergas and Train and Corel are reincarnations, because if they were, Crowley would probably try to make Vergas and Corel overblot during their time at school, if they were actually reincarnations. So, no, I don't think so. I also don't think they're in on it, because I just don't. There's no reason for me to think that, because they seem competent and actually care about their jobs, unlike Crowley, who seems negligent. As for Sam, I don't think he's a reincarnation either, because that if there was anyone who could do reincarnation, it's a voodoo doctor. If Child's Play has taught us anything. So, no, I don't think Sam's a reincarnation. Maybe he's a descendant, or maybe he just looks like Facilier, but I do not think he's a reincarnation of any kind. So, yeah, I don't think anyone around Night Raven, except for Crowley, is, helping make this plan go along, As for the heroes, is Nij a reincarnation? Is Riel? Well, no, I don't think so. I think they're just descendants, because, the heroes wouldn't really have a need for that, because, first off, they're heroes, and forceful reincarnation seems kind of not good. And also, they have children, so they wouldn't really need to reincarnate. I do think that Nij is a distant descendant of Snows, and Riel's like a great, 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 great nephew of Ariel's or something. That's my thoughts on Royal Swords Academy and how that works. As for the Overblots and how they work and what they're supposed to accomplish, I think that the little ink jar on top of the head of the Overblots is actually the amount of magic you have left. Because while an Overblot's magic is very powerful, it tends to be very, very limited, unlike regular magic. So yeah, that's how I think those shadowy forms behind the boys work. As for what the purpose of the Overblots is, I think it's to emotionally break the person overblotting. Think about it, because every Overblot, the person overblotting almost kills somebody. Riddle almost kills Trey, Cater, Ace, Deuce, and almost everyone in Heartslebule. Leona dusts Ruggy almost, which is interesting because Ruggy's a hyena, and who was Scar killed by? Hyenas. You know, Azul almost kills Jade and Floyd, kind of like how Ursula accidentally killed her eels, which makes me wonder if Jade and Floyd are actually a reincarnation of Flotsam of Jetsam, or they just happen to look like them. Not sure, because that's confusing. I don't think they are, though, actually, now that I think about it. Because, you know, they aren't actually subservient to Azul. They just kind of work for him because it's fun for them. As for Jamil, he would have killed Kaleem, who, you know, was his best friend for 17 years. And Bill would have killed Rook and Appel, which probably would have not have been that great emotionally. And, you know, Malleus might try to kill Lilia, Sebek, and Silver. And I don't know what Idia's gonna do. Honestly, it's weird. Idia's confusing to me. But the point is, I think that the point is for the kids to fall into a depression, and eventually they're just so weak that the 7 can just overtake them without any issue, because, you know, otherwise it might be a bit of a, you know, problem. But this way, they're so emotionally weakened that they won't put up any resistance. Now, how does you fit into all of this is a pretty good question, but I'm going to tackle that after I tackle one other important question, which is which one of the Overblot boys knows, and do the dorm leaders know? Well, I don't think Kaleem knows. I don't think Malleus knows anything. I don't think Idia knows, but I do think that Riddle also doesn't know. I mean, he might suspect something, but Crowley hasn't given him a hint. And you know that Riddle, if he were given some sort of hint, he would be all over that shit. As for Azul, I think he definitely knows something's up. He might not know exactly what it is, but he does know that Crowley has a giant secret he doesn't want revealed. As for Leona, he definitely either knows exactly what Crowley's planning, or, you know, just doesn't really know what Crowley's planning and doesn't care enough to tell anybody else because he's a lazy ass. And Jamil is definitely suspecting Crowley's doing some shady shit, but, you know, Jamil kind of hates Crowley, so of course he would be suspicious of him. Because Jamil. So, yeah. I do think that Vil also suspects something, but he might not be able to piece it together because, you know, he actually has a job. So, you know, he's kind of busy with other things to figure it out. As for Yu's role, I do think she's a descendant of some powerful wizard. Maybe Merlin? Because, you know, Merlin's old. He could have a child, hypothetically, or something. So, yeah. Maybe she was like a descendant of Merlin's and her mother went into the human world or something to, you know, protect you from Crowley because she was a they. Sorry, it's just in my fanfic I write you as a girl. I'm sorry. Anyway, maybe you, again, is a descendant of Merlin's and their parents, you know, went to the human world to, like, protect them from Crowley. So that could be interesting. As For Grimm, I don't know. I don't know what his role is going to be, but I do think that he's going to be such an exhausting overplot that eventually all of the kids are going to be exhausted and they can just be easily taken over. Now, one final thing for this video that I want to discuss is the Azim family and whether or not they're related to the Sultan's family from Aladdin. Because Jamil claims that they're like a merchant family who just became so affluent that eventually they were ruling the country. But that seems a bit unlikely since Kaleem says that Jasmine's carpet, and Jasmine's a freaking princess, was in the family for generations. So how would you afford such a thing if you're only a merchant family? That seems like something the royal family wouldn't give up, now does it? Well, of course it does, because Kaleem's family is royalty. They're just lying to him about it for some reason, or at least his father and any relative that might, know how much of a scam this is doesn't tell him, or maybe Crowley lied to them. I don't know, but either way, the Azim family is royalty. I'm sorry they're related to the Sultan's family, because why else would they have a carpet for a princess unless it's not a family heirloom? Unless it's a family heirloom, my bad. So I do think they're related to Jasmine, and I do think that Kaleem isn't a reincarnation of a sultan, he's just his descendant. Or Jasmine's more accurately, because, she's his descendant, and that one, you get it. The point is, yeah, I do definitely think the Azims are royalty, and they're just lived in the slide that they're not for so long because Crowley, is doing some shady shit. And the Azims are pretty shady. So, yeah, that's what I think about that. And that was the only confusing bit left in my head. So, with that, I'm finished with this video. And see you guys next time. We're going to discuss how Kaleem and Jamil are gay for each other. And then we're finished with the Twisted Wonderland content.